10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Good luck, studio.
Oh, it's that time again. Paul Chandler's going to start this whole thing he does. It's called the Shy Life Podcast. It's probably going to start any minute now. Anyway, I think you'll enjoy it. Okay, sit back and relax.
All I wanted was a pie, and then I hatched out of an egg.
Okay, bring the mic over. He's ready to record.
It's the quiet ones you've got to watch, you know.
Is it metaphorical? Is it deep? Is it deep?
Boy, he's not all that shy, is right.
Blimey, Governor, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Excellent.
576.
Bonjour et bienvenue au podcast The Shy Life.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Shy Life Podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti. How you doing? I'm all right. So, what's this episode going to be about? Well, it's going to be one of our Chatterbox episodes. We do these every 2 or 3 months, I suppose, 4 or 5 times a year. And, well, we're in September now, and it's an important month. It relates to the podcast in a way. So it seemed like a good time to get everybody back and have a little bit of a chat. About what, you say? Well, partly about Sutton Park. We have 2 or 3 episodes this month that are related to the fact that it's 30 years since the beginning of Sutton Park, which also means it's 30 years since I left for university. But anyway, we don't need to think too much about that. Anyway, we've got the usual gang, and we're going to talk about Sutton Park. We're going to talk about 1992, more generally, about what was going on and what was going on TV, what was going on in the world of music, and we'll get chatting. So let's run the theme music, and when we come back, we'll get going. All right, run that theme music.
Darling, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Yes, but it's a positive thing, Paul. The highlights, the shy life.
You won't find a cast of characters like this everywhere.
Hello, Paul.
I'll go anywhere for a potato.
Delicious.
Hello, campers. How are you? You quite like a big bang, don't you?
Go Shy Yeti.
Oh, I hope he hasn't found out my secret. Do you think he has?
If you thought that was bad, just listen to this.
Oh, I can't wait for it to begin.
It's the Shy Life Podcast.
I like that. Yeah, I'm strangely drawn to Yeti Uncle John's ankles as well.
But has the Shy Life Podcast slowed down? I don't think so.
It's all gooey and easy. Yum.
Has anyone seen my hot sausage?
Hello.
Hello, Paul.
No,
He's talking to Toppy. Oh, hello, Toppy.
Hello.
Toppy. Hey.
Yay, the gang's all here.
yeah.
There's hundreds of us. It's like one flew over the cuckoo's nest here tonight.
Are you Robin and Maid Marian down in Poole?
Yeah. I'll be Robin.
Am I Friar Tuck then? Bugger.
What does that make me? What's left?
What does it make Warren?
Make
Warren the Sheriff of Nottingham. And Men in Tights all over again, isn't it?
Robin, Warren's Alana Dale.
Oh, no, I'll burst into song.
Did you guys ever...
Scarlet. Sorry, Toppy.
No, it's okay. Did you guys ever get a chance to see over there a TV series from the 70s by Mel Brooks called When Things Were Rotten?
I've seen the title sequence, and that's about all. I don't think we ever got it over here, but occasionally I sort of search for title sequences, don't I? And I know it came up. I went, oh, Mel Brooks. But that's about all I know about it.
Have you read his autobiography? The one that was out last year, I think it was.
I never have.
No, I got it dirt cheap on Amazon, as these things tend to be sometimes. It was the hardback was cheaper than the paperback, and I thought, that's interesting. But it's a really, really good read. Taught me all about very thin bagels. But there we go.
Talking about how many of us are here, possibly
if we do another one before the end of the year, we may have another person because Muffley on Tour wants to join us. So,
it's probably about time. He's been cheerleading us for ages, hasn't he? So.
And he's sending me messages from Keswick this weekend because he's down in Keswick.
Kazakhstan? My word, he's a brave man.
And
he always goes to Keswick when we don't.
I think he's going in October if you want to go.
I am actually going in October. That's weird.
You might walk past him.
I never know.
He'd recognise your voice and you might recognise his voice.
I don't generally walk down the streets of Keswick going, do you know who I am?
No, it's time to start.
Until somebody goes, yeah, you're that bloke from the radio. No, it's never happened. I think that's the thing. Those people who aren't really quite celebrities but get on the Love Island type things or whatever the programs are. But I think they basically have to walk around until someone recognises their voice or their face, pointing at themselves or wearing a T-shirt of themselves. It's the only way they do it. But
you've got those postcards, Martin. Can't you leave them in phone boxes?
No.
Door against that.
Get it here.
Listeners, I have asked.
Have you ever been recognised, Paul? Has anyone actually recognised you purely from your voice from the show?
No, not from podcasting, but somebody did once meet me and said, "Oh, you're that Shayeti guy." So they must have seen me online being Shayeti.
How about you, Toppy? Has anyone recognised your voice?
No, never. I can't even get people in real life to bother to listen. I seriously, they have absolutely no interest.
That's why we podcast. Nobody listens to us at home.
No, my friends have zero interest, zero curiosity, and I don't get it, but okay. I kind of feel like if they were doing a podcast, I'd at least be curious.
Yeah.
But no.
Podcast curious. There's a syndrome.
I got recognised.
Whoa!
Wow!
Yeah.
I told you.
By the brother of somebody that used to work there that got sacked. But that's nothing to do with it. But yeah, he watched our videos.
All right.
I was like, okay. I'm really glad you like them. It was very
You were his alibi.
What sort of videos have you been putting up?
And we got recognised in the foyer of a hotel by Andrew Dexter, didn't we? That was odd.
Yeah. Somebody sidled up to us and says, "I know you, don't I?" And I went, "Do you?" And then I was scared.
Was he Indian?
I think you probably have got more chance of being recognised if you do videos, because I guess that probably around the time I was recognised was when I was posting my Yeti poetry video things, and also I watch quite a few YouTube channels, and one of them's a travelogue one, The Endless Adventure, and they've got to the stage where they're travelling around America, and it seems that every video somebody's going up and recognising them, but then they do have a lot of followers. So
well, that's it. These young influencers, they do have recognition value, don't they?
Not like us old wise owls.
No. We bask in our obscurity and anonymity.
Yes, we don't want fame. We've had our chance and blown it.
I was recently thinking, oh, it's nice that I've had 75,000 downloads in the whole time I've been doing podcasting.
That was just one.
And then he's very busy. He's very busy downloading me. But then you look at an Endless Adventure.
He keeps crashing out, and he just keeps doing it again.
You look at an Endless Adventure video ratings, and they've had 75,000 viewers in about 2 days, and you think that's all of my podcasting career. And even then,
you've just gone Cluedo. Sorry, is somebody?
What's happened?
I just heard a bang. Sorry, I was just thinking, is one of us just been shot?
I don't know.
It's Colonel Mustard. He's at it in the library again.
There we go.
Yeah. The shelving imps might be in there. So, yes. Toppy, do you want to mention that you did an episode of the Smellcast and you used porcupine noise, didn't you? Because
I every once in a while I do something called "Stick It Out Your Back Door," which is a request for to listeners to send in sound clips that they've recorded. And every once in a while, someone will send in something they found rather than recorded, but that's fine. Anyways, someone sent in the sound of a porcupine eating a pumpkin, and this has been seen all over the web. You guys probably have seen it, maybe. Anyways, it's hysterical. It's absolutely adorable. The sound he makes, and it turns out Paul used that sound for his shelving imps as they ate books and things.
Yeah. And I can't remember where I
used porcupine.
So it's been around for a while. I just can't remember where I first heard it. If only they knew that their porcupine was being used for different things.
What's that story about the dinosaur roar that's used in all those films? That's used for the shark death in Jaws, and it's used for the lorry going over the cliff in Jewel. There's this one sound effect that's been used for all these different.
I think it's from where dinosaurs ruled the earth, isn't it?
Ah, okay. Did that? Yeah, I knew it was old.
Yeah, I know that. I know that. Spielberg had a thing about dinosaur films, didn't they? He loved dinosaurs. He's one of those perpetual children, like we all are inside.
Me, I love dinosaurs.
Yay! There's like a perpetual child inside us, dressed in a dinosaur onesie suit, and we all like going up to people and growling. And I think that was because I remember it distinctly on Jewel, going, "Hold on a minute,
I know that
roar. To rewind that. I know that roar."
You say that. I was once at work and somebody came in dressed as a T-Rex, and I was in the middle of talking to a customer. I was like, hang on a minute. Somebody dressed as a dinosaur. Oh, right, okay. They're dressed as a dinosaur. Cool, right.
Why were they dressed as a
I don't know.
That's
was there somebody running behind them with a shovel and bucket?
No.
You sometimes get pirates coming in.
Yeah, pirate. Captain Jack Sparrow comes in some, not the literal actual.
Is that on Pirate Day?
Sparrow. But yeah. On
Like
Harry Day, normally.
We've got a pirate that lives in the town here in Blandford, but which is weird because it's weird, because we're landlocked.
Best way to be a pirate, I think.
But don't you remember, Warren, coming out of the pub one Saturday night and the pirates were doing their recycling outside?
Oh yes, they all put their stuff in the recycling bin. That was good to see.
Very green pirate we've got
with their little hooked hands.
Yeah.
Would they be saying, "No, just a minute. Is this kindling, or is that your leg?"
Can I hook this up? Oh, look at that! Oh, that's spaghetti. Marvelous.
Well, have you guys heard of the Jesse Holmes scream? It's this infamous scream that was recorded for a movie in the 1950s, and then it's subsequently been used in 100 other movies up to the present, and it's become an inside joke for sound recorders and Foley workers and all that to include it, in the movie. And it's the guy that actually did the scream was named Jesse Holmes or something like that, and so now, it was used in just everything from Raiders of the Lost Ark to something even more recent.
Dear old Aunt Jessie. Yes.
Yeah.
I got. It has been noted by a couple of listeners. I think Muffley on Tour being one of them. That I used a machine from the man in the white coat. It's the sound effect I use when
Cuthbert, the bubbly sound.
Yeah, when Cuthbert is around. I was watching the film, and my brain must have gone, "Oh, there's patches of this where there's nobody speaking. I could just." And I watched the end of the film, and then rushed back and just took a minute or whatever, or 30 seconds, and then just looped it, and it's been very useful. But I don't do a lot of stuff like that. So it's quite nice that it's that well known that people, have said, "Oh, that's where you got that from, isn't it?"
Going back to the other thing I want to ask you about the dinosaurs, because this has struck me this week watching King Kong. Why didn't he just herd up a load of dinosaurs and take them back to New York? What?
They're a lot less.
I think we're worried about.
I think people would have gone to see dinosaurs. Maybe.
Or he was worried about being eaten, maybe, by dinosaurs. Whereas, as long as you keep out of range of the gorilla, it's not going to grab you. So
it's 50 foot tall.
Well, I think he probably seen
really far away.
Or sometimes it's 20 foot tall.
No, he probably saw the silent movie, the Lost World, where they had they brought the dino back and it escaped, and they said, "Oh, we're not having any of that business going on here. Thank you very much indeed."
Trust a gorilla.
It's only a man in a gorilla suit who's very tall.
Of course, our friend Jay the Haunt Cub is also a big dinosaur fan, and Cuthbert is currently working on getting him a virtual reality dinosaur, which we've been promising for ages. But he's a bit busy at the moment. But he'll be coming in soon to see the final dino and can take it home. So that was.
Didn't we have those things where you could feed your own dinosaur, and then we went through a phase of those electronic toys that came over from Japan or Taiwan or somewhere?
Yeah, I don't think it was a dinosaur. It was just a creature, wasn't it?
Is it Naka something?
Tamagotchi.
Tamagotchi, Nakagotchi,
But the moment you forgot to feed it, it would just die. You'd be like, "Oh God, I've killed the thing."
Yeah, that was sort of late 90s, mid to late 90s, I think.
Yeah.
So now I can't remember in the original King Kong, how the hell did they capture him? I don't remember.
A gas bomb.
It was?
Mm-hmm. Just the one, apparently. Just
the one. That's been a blooming great one.
He sort of blows up and he falls over and looks a bit sleepy. It's actually beautifully done, but I mean, when you consider it's only 90 years ago.
Did you ever see the model? They had it in the MoMI exhibition.
I didn't, but I have got a wonderful book, a very visual book, The Making of King Kong, which is
I've only seen photos of it.
Yeah.
The model was so intricately made, and it used to be on the South Bank in London in the Museum of the Moving Image.
Mm.
And obviously a lot of its fur is coming off now. And yeah, the mechanics on it were just amazing, absolutely amazing for the ear.
Yeah, and I don't care what anyone says, Son of Kong was just as good.
I'm like that with Son of Blob. I'm like Son of Blob.
Well, something that's not as old as 90 years old, but which is 30 years old this year, is something that we're going to be discussing 1992 in different ways this episode. We're going to be looking at some of the events. We're going to be looking at some of the TV, but we're also going to be looking at one particular TV show, which only people who listen to this podcast or were involved in it. It's Sutton Park's 30th anniversary this month. And,
I feel old. Gosh.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask those who were involved and then those who weren't. Well, I'm going to start with Toby and Lisa because they were involved, but I'm also going to ask the other our other guests today the sort of character they would have liked to have played had they been in the show. But we'll start with Toby and Lisa.
Gosh, we're having a convention panel.
Yeah, sure. And we've even got an insert from Muffley on tour because he was asked that question and has sent an answer in as well. So because he's often mentioned how he would have loved to have been in Sutton Park. So I said, well, you better answer the question too. But Toby and Lisa, before you tell me well, you were characters, but you can still suggest other characters. But I was just wondering, Troby, for instance, do you remember when Sutton Park started being mentioned, or what you thought, or what you sort of, because I guess when you were first involved, a lot of people didn't quite know what on earth it was going on. It could have just been my next silly short-lived thing.
I don't appear till about episode 30-something, is that right?
It's quite possible, yeah.
Yeah, I know I wasn't there right at the beginning, because I got... You used to do me tapes of, everything. I don't know how much you edited up to. I'm certainly not on the first 30 or so episodes because
I edited up to about 1,000.
Yeah, because
so basically, if you're in episode 30 of 1,000, you're there at the beginning.
Well, I suppose so.
It was 3,000, but
see, that's 1% of the story had happened before you got there.
I'm not sure I did quite understand what I was doing at first. I don't think I ever really understood it towards the end, but no, it just feels like Sutton Park was always there. It's really weird. I can't sort of remember it starting. It's very odd. I do remember like crawling into Nick's bedroom on me sort of hands and knees.
Steady.
Pun. Because I was doing an impression of David Collins from Mordred Undead.
Oh, God.
So,
what, in your pants?
Did you have a load of spaghetti on your head?
But I soon sort of
brown underpants.
It's a streaker.
Can I finish my sentence? No.
Did you get time off for good behaviour?
I guess I sort of soon adopted the thing of just being me, but a bit odder, wasn't it?
I don't know what you're looking at me. I wasn't involved in the early stuff.
What did it get?
Well, although Lisa, we were talking this morning, and there's a possibility you were in it before Troby, because we think because we were talking about how early, because I was saying, did we first meet when you did Prison in the Sun with Nick and I in the summer of '93? But you think we'd met before, and it's possible that you were in the background in one.
Yeah, I think thinking about it, I met you earlier in 1993.
Okay.
I don't know if it was 93 or 92. It's so long ago.
White suit on the Barnet bypass, by any chance.
But yeah, it's because I know I think I first met you at a comic mart at the TUC place in London, because I remember us sitting. There's Nick and Elaine and Keith and you, and I think possibly Andy as well, all sitting around a table fiddling with the little no smoking signs, pretending to be Daleks, of course.
Well, there was an episode from like December '92 from Soho Park, and there were lots of people in the background, some are more, and that's one of the first episodes that Nick was in as well, and that's about like episode 18 or something. Come on, Dales, come and join us. You weren't alive when Sutton Park was. You were alive when there were buses.
Oh, Dales.
You were in. I don't know if you were in the. Were you in the 2010 revival, Deals? Do you remember? I don't know if you weren't. Then you should have been. I kind of feel like Deals wasn't in, and he wasn't in my poetry videos as well. I don't know what did your agent prevent you from being on? I can't remember. Anyway, well, one of the things that you were always really good at, Troby, was turning up with props, which we could then go, okay, so we'll make this, or this is going to, and it would often really generate lots of plot lines.
Did you just walk around with a mysterious bag and then produce what's in Troby's bag this week?
Like Mary Poppins. I'd produce...
I have been mostly shopping and I have found this.
Well, it was either electronic bits and pieces.
It was like she was in the room.
Because I had an electronics kit. And we did a few little chemistry things. Mostly involving food.
Right, I need to stop you there. I need to stop you. Under the Geneva Conventions, you know you're not allowed to play with chemicals because you blew up a town.
I did not blow up a town. The town blew up, and then I joined the chemical company. Get it in the right order.
No, you should change your name.
But I remember, because that hut was useful, wasn't it, Paul?
Oh yes,
I remember we set up. You had a hut that you could film in. A hut, and we used to set up experiments on the table tennis table, didn't we?
Yeah. So it was sort of like the village. I don't know. It could have been a good youth centre, except there were probably no youths around that time left.
I was the nearest thing to a youth you could find.
Yeah. My dad had the key, so we were able to film in it.
Oh, that was going to be my question. Did you break in through a window? Was it like...
My dad was like the local councillor or something for the village, so he had the key, so I could go in there whenever I liked. Yeah.
I remember doing a stunt through the door of that, because I did a forward roll.
Blimey, that explains a lot nowadays.
No. You're an optic roll, mate.
I know, I'm surprised I didn't dislocate my shoulder, but it was full action by Havoc, wasn't it? It was an amazing stunt, and you almost caught most of it on camera as well. I love the fact that I do a roll in like it's just in the corner of the picture.
Well, the thing is, because it was all ad-lib, we didn't always know when the action was going to happen or which.
Yeah, when the action. You know, my trousers could have fallen down, and you might not have captured it. But you know,
I probably would have made it into a cliffhanger if they had. but
the Beatles about, I think.
I think there was definitely a period where you and I did episodes. Or we went out on little adventures. Or
we'd go off in the woods together, didn't we?
Yes, yeah, that's right. We went to the New Forest, and
I know a man encountered us in the woods and told us to stop.
That was when we had the giant Santa Claus, I think.
Yeah,
that's what he does on his days off, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, you used to hang around woodland car parks.
No, but
only at night,
with your windows open, flashing your lights for attention.
But the difference is, if we were doing that now, it would seem weird. When you're in your 20s, people just shrug and go.
It's the kind of thing you do every night.
Yeah, I mean,
well, yes.
In your 20s, and just people just shrug and go, "It's just kids."
You're just experimenting, aren't you? You're finding out what your thing is.
Yeah, you might get more than you expected.
I wouldn't do it now. That's why I do a podcast rather than a video.
Anyway, says Warren, the boy who podcasted from inside a toilet in Barry Island.
Actually, it was trap number 1 in Barry Island, thank you. Unfortunately, I was unaware there was somebody in trap number 2.
Oh dear, you see, so goodness knows what you'd have been up to back in the day.
The echo effects were to die for.
So, as we're talking, if you could have been another character other than the character you played, what sort of character would you have played or wanted to play?
Well, I always used to get on very well with Little J, didn't I? Because we had quite a thing going, if you'll pardon the expression. That I remember I sneezed in his face once and he reacted really well. But
Little J, I could see this.
But Little J was small, young, blonde-haired and innocent. And I see myself as that.
You see yourself as the complete opposite.
I'm so glad the barristers are on strike.
Little J was a pup.
He was a puppet. He was a puppet.
Okay. He kept his hand.
I've always thought that one trick we missed was to do a body swap episode.
Oh, yeah.
Where I would voice Little J, and Little J's voice would voice me, if you see what I mean. So I would have liked to have exchanged bodies with Little J. So that would have been interesting. Yeah, because we did occasionally gang up against you, didn't we? That we'd sometimes tell you off. Because I remember we made you run behind my car.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have you in the car. I said I'll take Little J, but you have to run behind. And Little J found that quite amusing.
And we filmed it to make it look like that was happening. That's what was happening. Yeah. Although I have encountered some episodes recently where you've obviously done some experiments on Little J and he's scared of you. So there must have been... I mean, I think we made it for such a long time that the relationships between the characters went through different, ebbs and flows. So, I mean, there's definitely... I found some really good episodes when Nick and I were like having really big arguments, like in Sutton Park on Boxing Day with a storm raging around us, and we were just shouting at each other. And I didn't really remember that happening. So,
well, that's just Boxing Day, though, isn't it?
Yeah. There was a funny year where for some reason my dad and my brother were going to watch their football team up in Birmingham. And they decided they'd go even though it was Boxing Day. And they said if Nick and I wanted to come, they could drop us off in Sutton Park for a few hours. And Nick, who is like me, gets a bit bored on Christmas Day of just boring Christmas things, was like, yeah. So we went to Sutton Park on Boxing Day and shouted at each other. And then we thought, we should have filmed this, shouldn't we? No, we did film it. But Lisa, do you have any ideas of any other characters you could have played other than...
I don't know really, because I don't feel like I was just a sort of weird version of myself, slightly different version of myself.
Could you have played evil, do you think, Lisa?
Maybe. Yeah, I was just thinking that. So maybe I could have been taken over by Katrina Hortensa.
You see that in American series, the evil version of yourself is basically an excuse to wear bondage gear, isn't it? I mean, that's what happens.
Or have a beard. You could have had a beard.
Yeah.
Is that basically what?
Jacqueline Pierce with a beard.
That's what we would have done, though, wouldn't we? We'd have put a rubbish woolen beard on you.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't there that episode of South Park where they all had like evil beards because of an episode of Star Trek where Spock has an evil beard or something?
Well, that's how you tell in Star Trek when you've got the evil versions of the crew. They have beards.
Well,
so I don't know how that works with Riker.
We could have done that, though, because remember when my evil balls escaped? Because my balls went all over the country, didn't they, Paul?
Yes, they did.
And did they actually affect people or not?
I think so. Depending if it was the same balls that if they were the Suttonite ones, but
thankfully they never made it this far north.
Because I'm watching things out of order. I'm getting it's like putting a jigsaw puzzle together and going, okay, so in 1998 we were doing this, and I've seen some episodes from 1994 and we were doing that because I can't really remember a lot of it. It's been a very long time, but.
Roby is now aware that I am biting my lip because I want to say a certain line.
Go on.
You always did have magnificent balls.
Thank you.
What's that a quote from? You better tell the listeners.
Carry on, don't lose your head. When they're having a charity bash. And she asks, what's it for? He says, sweet FA. Oh, no, it must be for something. Those stranded French aristocrats. Well, you always did have magnificent balls, says Sidney James.
I do remember, Lisa, I think there was a plot line where you were turned out to be the daughter of Basil, who was a very... ambiguous character in as far as whether he was a good you or bad and played by our friend George Watson.
Don't remember that at all, but okay.
I don't remember. I heard it mentioned a couple of times, but I haven't actually encountered the actual episodes where it happens. But it's weird watching your own show and sort of watching it like, okay, what happens next? I don't know. Who's going to turn up next? But talking to the others of you on on the show tonight. So Warren, for instance, if you had been around, what sort of character would you have liked to have played on Sutton Park?
I would have liked to have been Harold Elfie. Drops his H's, who works for the Ovis Company and delivers bread on his bicycle. And he's forever trying to get up this cobbled hill. He can't get up it.
You could have filmed on location for that.
I could have filmed on location, but he's stuck in a constant time loop and can't get up this blooming hill.
Oh well, Mr. Trowbridge and I could possibly have found a way of setting you free from your time loop.
Oh yes, we'd have had to come up with some electronic contraption to.
Or you could have engaged the giant plastic Hovis loaf at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
Or what we could have done is freed him, then realised he was really annoying, and
it was really Joe Gladwin.
Yes, yeah. And I could have done me Pyramid of Mars bit, couldn't I?
Imprisoned for thousands of years.
Yeah, I was thinking the Marcus Scarman collecting free at last thud.
That's the noise I would have made.
But in the voice of Joe Gladwin, obviously.
Yeah, I'd have used my loaf to have got out of there.
I get my Shop at World.
And what about you, Toppy? Who would you have played?
Well, I got a couple answers. So if I think of it at the age I would have been when you were doing it, I was a bit thin and wiry, and I would have played like an Igor character, like an assistant, and I'd drag my foot around behind me, and Master, what are we going to do today? I'd be that. But if I went back and I looked like today, I'd like to be the guy that randomly appears in episodes where I'm on a park bench drinking from a bottle, and then you guys do something weird, and then I look at it and then I look at the camera, and then I look at my bottle and toss the bottle over my shoulder. That's what I'd like to do. Barring all of that, I'd want to be a paper mache puppet. And I'd want to look like that character from that kid show in America, Welcome to the Neighborhood. What the hell was he called? Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And he had a puppet that ran a museum, and I don't know if you can visualize what that puppet was, but it was a woman, and she looked, oh my God, it was scary, horrible how she looked. And I'd want to have that face and be a little puppet.
It's a terrifying day in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Well, you probably because we had a character, one of our most prolific cast members, Lee, who did lots of props, also played many characters. He also played the viewer of the show who became part of the show. So you could probably have been his either a rival to him, or perhaps you'd have been introduced slowly like that. But then when Lee had discovered that just a minute, there's another viewer of the show, you could have had your own sort of little battle versus each other, trying to outdo each other.
Let me tell you one of my favorite moments in these, and it happens frequently. It's when, and it happens because it's totally improvised, and you can tell at a certain point if there's one character and then there's Paul, that Paul isn't too keen on where one character is going with his dialogue, and I'll just try to play this out so you get it. Paul says, the cave, that's where the villain is. We've got to get into that cave. And the other character is, look at that storefront over there. I'd like to go in and get a comic book. No, the cave. The villain's in the cave, not the store. But the store is, maybe he went in there. Maybe the villain's, and while we're there, we can get a no, we got to get to the cave. Paul's trying to, let's bring it back. And it's like, yeah.
Damn you, improv.
Some cast members did have a tendency to drift off at times, but also I'd be looking for the camera.
Sometimes on a lilo.
I'd be like, we've only got 90 seconds left before the tape runs out, and we have to have the cliffhanger in the next 90 seconds. We can't possibly go on to the next tape.
That's why you get those chatting Cybermen. Yes.
Yeah. And but there were some people, Lee again particularly, he would when I filmed with him, he pretty much took the story over, and unless he suggested something that I really didn't want to do, then I didn't really know what we were up to in the day when I was. So it was quite exciting to hand it over to him and just do the story, what lines that he wanted to do. But yeah, mostly I although there was room for, like with Troby bringing props in, and we could do whatever we liked really during our however long we were recording. There were some times where I knew we had to kind of but I wasn't really. I was a very sort of laid back director in a way, but perhaps passive aggressive director. I don't know. We won't be doing. I do remember one cast member who I won't name, although he's not on the podcast, so we probably won't be listening. But he'd been in the show since the beginning, but he didn't want to do it anymore. But I don't think he wanted the show to continue. So yeah, well that wasn't going to work, because this was like 95 or 6, and I had no intention of finishing. So I had to kill him off. I think Katrina Hortensia, the witchy character, killed him off, and I think he died, or the character died in that that hut that Troby mentioned earlier. And he could have come back if he wanted to have done. Nobody died forever, and if they didn't want to. But but if he wasn't going to be on the show, we had to kind of wrap up his storyline. So I killed him off. He didn't like being killed off. I don't know if he felt like if he'd been killed off in the show, it was like had to face his own mortality. I mean, I don't really understand.
Unfortunately, those tapes are sealed under the court order at the moment and can't be released.
Is that the ones that aren't allowed on DVD release? He won't give his rights. Yes.
The master tapes have been stolen. Yes.
So Martin, who would you have played?
Oh God, no! To follow that, no. I think I would have pissed you off something chronic. Actually, I would have. At that sort of age, I was cripplingly shy, and I would probably have either sort of been quietly desperate to be asked and never would have been, or I would have been sort of going, no, don't put it on me, don't put it on me, you know, and then you'd sort of see me skittering away and refusing to never return, really. Refusing to never return. That's the opposite, isn't it? That's the opposite. So I like to think that retrospectively, I am the invisible silent man who's basically been in all the episodes when we retro.
You're the man with no face who's turned away from the camera.
Ooh, very deep.
But no, it's funny actually, because there are two things I remember. I remember very specifically being we on stage in a pantomime, and I remember very clearly.
You weren't.
No, I was, yeah. And I was the villain. I was the chief villain, and it was one of these spoof pantomimes that somebody had found in a book, and I was the villain, so I had to walk around in a big old cape, and it was all to do with umbrellas and all those other stuff with umbrellas. But because it was a spoof of Aladdin, so the main character was called Batter Pudding. Batter Pudding. Hilarious. But I refused to pronounce it. I always would have Barter Poo. So I always think I was a bit Barter Poo, come over here. So I would have been, I'd have done villain stuff, but I wouldn't as well, because I would have been scared to death. So that's interesting. Also, when I was a student, for some reason, when they wanted someone to play a loser who suddenly wins in a tape slide presentation we did. With tape slide presentation, imagine that. Hilarious. But anyway, they chose me for some reason, so I had to be the dork riding the bicycle, and so basically anybody who was a bit of an idiot, I'd have been that.
There's absolutely no chance that you wouldn't have been asked, because that wasn't, there was nobody who wasn't asked. In fact, there were people who were.
You don't know about my college life. All sorts of things went on about 3 feet away from me.
But people appeared on the show who didn't necessarily, like at a party, everyone would be.
I spent my life invisible. All right, it's fine. The only way doing this audio now, there's a void talking to you.
Well, yes,
but you got Anthony Ainley to appear in Sutton Park, and he didn't know.
No, there were people at Doctor Who conventions who appeared. There's quite a lot of Doctor Who actors who've been in Sutton Park without realising it.
Is it on IMDb?
No, not yet. Well, I mean, there's so much footage from convention.
You could get IMDb access, and you could add Sutton Park to all their credits. And people go, "What's this? What's that? I thought I had the complete Anthony Ainley on tape, and there's this credit I can't find anywhere. What's that all about?"
There's before we move on, I asked this question about what character they would like to play to Muffley on tour, and this is what Muffley said.
Thank you for your question, Paul. I think definitely if we'd known each other in the 80s and 90s, I would have got involved with Sutton Park. What I was doing in Cambridge, there was quite a lot of messing around with tape recorders and things. Not so much with video. That was something that we didn't really get into, because me and a lot of my friends got into bands, I guess, when we sort of got into our teens. And at one point I was in about, I think it was 3 different bands when I was at school, because I spotted a gap in the market that no bands had bass players, so I quickly learned to play the bass. So there you are. In terms of what character I play in Sutton Park, it would be more just an exaggerated version of myself, I think. I'm not the biggest fan of accents or silly voices, mainly because I'm not very good at them, I guess. So yeah, it would just be a version of myself. I mean, I guess what I'm doing right now as I speak into this phone is a version of myself as well. Having said that, when I've been doing my Am Dram, I've done a lot of parts over the years that have been what I would call turns, be them camp vicars or policemen and that kind of thing. So I can sort of do the more sort of silly stuff, but I think that's when things are more structured and there's a script and I'm being directed. If it's more improvisational, then sort of I tend to just be a version of me. Anyways, bye-bye.
There we go.
Well, that was intriguing. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I never knew that. And wearing those particular outfit as well. It must have done a lot of chafing. A lot of chafing.
I've got some facts. I was also going to look at sort of TV from 1992. I know none of you are like massive music fans, but so whether you'll even 1992 is probably a bit too modern for some of you music fans.
Tiny music fans. Tiny.
If you could change the 19 to 18, I would probably be with you on that one.
Well, I don't suppose you'll ever guess what was number one when I when I recorded the first episode of Sutton Park. It was number one for 4 weeks. It was quite a controversial one at the time. It was Ebenezer Good by the Shaman.
Oh yes, He's a Good.
When the first, but the one before that was Rhythm is a Dancer by Snap.
Can I shock you?
Yes.
Geezer is a geezer. He loves to muscle in. Bloody hell.
Got any Veras?
Other big number ones that year.
I've got the DVDs of Vera somewhere. Is that no?
That's
mind.
the one. Yeah, he was dealing in DVDs of Vera.
Bit of Brenda Blessing.
Until Whitney Houston came in at the end of the year with "I Will Always Love You" for about 10 weeks, the biggest number one of '92 was Shakespeare's Sister Stay, and it was also the year that Erasure did their Aberesque EP, which partly led to
an EP. Wow, I haven't heard that term for donkey's years.
It was partly because they got to number one that people started getting interested in ABBA again. But and probably I was very. I think the first number one of my university career was "Sleeping Satellite" by Tasmin Archer, which is still a song I like to this day. But I was very cross when Top of the Pops did their 1992 retrospective. They completely skipped "Sleeping Satellite." But,
all the music that you liked got skipped.
Can I ask Toppy a question?
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Toppy, ABBA, was it as big in America as it was over here in Europe?
Well, it was big, but I don't really know how to compare because, I was here. But I mean, sure, ABBA was super popular and played, very, very much played on the radio. Yeah.
They didn't have necessarily as big chart hits. Dancing Queen was a big one, and one or two others, but they didn't have like top 10 hits, like lots and lots and lots of them. But then they were probably still being played on the radio, and it perhaps didn't matter if they were being played on the radio how high the song had actually got in the charts. But
as a matter of fact, Dancing Queen particularly sticks out as one that was played, a lot.
Yeah, I feel like that was either number one or top 10. But it's like with Kylie Minogue, she's only really had 2 big hits or something in America, and the ones that were big hits were really big hits. And then, considering how many other hits she's had elsewhere, she sort of had the ABBA effect, I suppose. But it does work both ways. Sometimes people release albums of all their number one hits, and you look at them and think they only had about 3 hits over here. How come they've got an album of number one? Some people.
Yeah, Mamma Mia was another one. Totally played big here.
Mm-hmm. I was looking to see what happened in the news in 1992. It's all rather. It's just things like.
It's just stuff.
It's difficult to keep my eyes open or stay awake. It's that dull. But it's things like signing the Maastricht Treaty to join, founding the European Union, things like that, and civil wars in countries and
Yugoslavia and all that business.
I'm looking for something that isn't horrible, and it's Betty Boothroyd became the first woman elected Speaker of the House of Commons.
And we haven't had a decent speaker since. She's bloody good, was old Betty. And then she went on and she founded that cookery place, didn't she? Because I get my Yorkshires from there, Aunt Betty's. They're really good.
They should have a speaker.
Betty, did you say?
No,
Oh,
Betty's.
Betty.
Betty's tea rooms. No, Bessie's tea rooms. No, Betty's tea rooms. and Bessie's Yorkshire puddings. They should have a speaker called Marshall, shouldn't they? Really?
Spotted Dick and Jam Roly Poly. She does as well. Good enough about that. Something for the weekend. In the words of John Inman, something for the weekend, sir.
I think 92 is the year that Bill Clinton won the election.
Sounds about right.
Gosh, it's all. Oh, the Prince.
He's got a good little card company, though, hasn't he? That's
okay. The Prince and Princess of Wales publicly announced their separation. It's all elections, and I want to know about nicer things, like somebody planted a tree, or I think Sutton Park was probably the only nice thing that happened in 1992, and the resurgence of ABBA. But I think we should look at the TV. That's got to be better. What happened in 92? The sitcom As Time Goes By makes its debut on BBC One, starring Judi Dench and Geoffrey Palmer.
You like that?
I do. Good sitcom.
At that time of my life, I think I had no idea that Judi Dench was anything other than an actress in sitcoms. I didn't know she was. So suddenly, when she's getting awards a few years later, this was just something she was doing. When she wasn't doing all the other things she was doing, or the sort of highly awarded theatre work, and having been around for years, I just
running MI6.
I just had no idea that she was quite, because there must be people who are in sitcoms where that's as good as it gets, and they have no other side to their career where they're doing work where they're getting awards and.
Let me ask, because I know in America, was she in a series where she played a detective or a policewoman or something along those lines? Does that ring a bell? It's very possible I'm thinking of something completely different.
Yeah, I don't think she's ever played a policewoman. She's not tall enough. For when she would have entered the police, she would have not been tall enough. Because she's only about 5'2", I think, if that.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to think. There was one particular thing that she did, and I believe it was a series, where we sort of like, oh, who is this woman, and isn't she good? And I guess I'm not sure what it is.
Helen Mirren did that.
Yeah, Helen Mirren was, yeah.
Okay, I'm mixing them up.
And then, again, I didn't know. I never watched Prime Suspect, but I didn't know that she was somebody who was already well known outside of being on Prime Suspect. I think perhaps when you're that, I mean, there wasn't the Wikipedia in these days for you to, if you didn't know about the theatre, then it would have perhaps been difficult to find these things out.
I think Mirren fans were aware of Mirren.
Yeah.
Before Prime Suspect, to be fair.
Yeah. Oh well, I mean, it probably depends on the age you were. I mean,
depends on the films you watched, I think.
I think one of her biggest films was Long Good Friday, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's
true. With that short chap, Bob Hoskins.
She's in Excalibur as well, isn't she?
Is she? Is she the sword?
I might be thinking of Sherry Lundy actually.
Oh.
But no, she is. She is in Excalibur. She plays Morgan Le Fay. Gets her attributes out.
Gets her what out?
Her attributes.
Oh, her 6s and 7s.
Yeah, her threepneys.
Her threepneys. Her chesticles.
Yeah.
In February, we had the debut of Men Behaving Badly. I mean, that would be a good example of.
Oh, with Harry Enfield. He was in the first season.
Yeah, it doesn't say that though, so I don't know whether that's just a mistake, or just a minute. This is the debut.
Maybe the BBC one.
Oh, it says it's the debut of the ITV version, but then goes on to say when it was on BBC One, it had these people in. Why doesn't it say what it had when you're saying that you're saying it's the debut? So if they've gone off the point there and not being precise. The children's series Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends is revived on ITV with Michael Angelis taking over from Ringo Starr.
That was big over here. Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that, actually. Is it? What is it? Just because it was quirky? Because I enjoyed it because I had the books as a child, and nothing could sort of replace the quirkiness of the books, and it was I found it quite a weird little series. It's quite fun though.
Yeah, I was too old to watch it, but I was aware of it. I mean that was a kid, a popular show.
Well, because it makes sense that it was revived then, because around 82, 83, or sort of around that time, it must have been when it was first animated in that way. Because my brother was really into it, and he was born in 82, so sometime after 82.
It was like 3D animation, right? It wasn't like on celluloid. I mean, it was. Didn't they use stop animation?
It's like models, wasn't it? A lot of model work. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we saw.
As we mentioned, it was the general election, but probably more sadly, the final episode of the long-running children's series "You and Me" is broadcast on BBC Two.
No,
I mean, I do remember when you click on the Wikipedia link, the logo they use is the logo that I remember. It ran from 1974 to 1992. You and Me.
Is that the building blocks that you remember?
Yeah,
You and Me, Me and You, lots of things to see and do.
Did it have the Y-bird in it then? At the end.
Oh, Crow?
Yeah. No, there was the Y-bird, and everybody apparently hated it. But it was Arthur Darvill's mum used to be the puppeteer or something. She was involved in it. So, yeah.
Did it lay words?
I don't know. I didn't watch it. But the Y-bird.
A consonant, a vowel. Oh, he's stretching a bit. Yeah, it could be hyphens.
I think if it was a he, he wouldn't be laying eggs anymore.
Well,
I think it was a Y. You'd have to hope it was the right way round.
There was a puppet dragon called Duncan at some point in the late 70s, and a cat called Perfecta.
And then you had Cosmo and Dibs, the little monkey. Were they monkeys?
I don't know what they were.
They were monkey-ish.
They were monkey-ish. Monkey-esque.
Monkey-esque.
Monkey-ish magic.
Because there's that clip they always show where the goldfish dies and they're sad. I don't know why I'm laughing at that. It's not meant to be funny. But
you're just sick, Lisa.
It's not when Mr. Pipkin dies, and the only thing Piggy's worried about is who's going to feed them, isn't he?
Seems reasonable.
Apparently, Wendy Padbury from Doctor Who was a presenter for some time or some aspect of You and Me. Annette Badland as well. And,
have they all been released on network at some point?
Never quite got that.
Bill Owen from Last of the Summer Wine was involved somehow. Harry Toom. Is that how you pronounce it?
Oh, Harry Toom was in everything. He was never out of work.
Lots full of people. Oh, Gary Wilmot. I recognise it. Henry the Kangaroo. Anyway, what else happened in '92? The first episode of Heartbeat began in April.
Also available in the network sale.
Yeah, the ITV series there, and not the Tony Hart, because
not the thing with Tony Hart drawing in it.
Yeah.
Set in the 1960s.
Nick Berry singing the theme tune.
Yeah.
Have you used the sale to complete your Heartbeat collection?
I looked at the sale and I went, no, there's absolutely nothing I want in that. So
bloody hell.
Ireland won the Eurovision Song Contest.
Oh dear.
I should be sure.
And
what with My Lovely Horse?
Sorry, who was it? Oh right, I thought you said Tommy.
He won it several times, don't
Did he? No, seriously. I honestly thought you were being whimsical.
No. There was an Irish singer called Johnny Logan who won the Eurovision. He was in it several times, and I know he won it at least once.
Yeah,
That's my only Eurovision fact.
He won. He won twice. With about 10 years apart.
I thought Warren said it was by Tubby Shaw, and I thought, is that actually right? Okay, never mind.
No,
was he wearing welly boots and going, "There's more"?
It was called somebody called Linda Martin won it for Ireland. But
wow.
Can I say about Eurovision? Now, I considered myself to know about pop culture. Because I'm here. I know mostly American pop culture, but I never knew anything about Eurovision, that it existed or that it was that big a thing until like 5 years ago. Like, where have I been? Why? It never made the news here. Never.
It's the World Series of music competitions.
Yeah.
It's basically only really Europe, but they think they're the world. I suspect. Australia in it now, so I don't see why the US can't be. Really.
Talking of Australia, there was a controversial plotline involving a brother and a half brother and sister having an affair on Neighbours, but they didn't know that they were related, and it had to be edited down. Actually, two characters who had returned again and were in the final episodes.
Did they ever bring back the other Scott so they could have a fight? And for the two Captain Kirks,
that actor did come back in the time that I was watching it, although I think he died quite recently.
Yeah.
But the actor did come back into the show as another character.
No, I am the real Scott. No, I am the real Scott. It would have been great.
Yeah.
What, the current actor rips his face off to have the original one underneath and say, "Oh, it's me all the time." I would have got away with it too if it wasn't those pesky kids.
The weird thing is, the type of plotline that it was pretty much the premise of early Sons and Daughters. I guess because that was shown on ITV at a time when nobody was watching, nobody really cared, but because it was on at tea time, perhaps somebody got a bit worried about it. But what else have we got? Football? No, thank you. Match of the day? No, thank you. Gosh. We're into September '92, and I'm pretty certain. I think this was literally the week after I filmed the first episode. Was the first episode of The Big Breakfast, which launched.
Well, there you go.
Chris Evans and Gabby Roslin.
They had two pilots. They said, "Should we go Big Breakfast or Sutton Park? Big Breakfast or Sutton Park? Which will we go with?" And they went the wrong way, obviously.
Yeah. Well, we ran longer than they did, though. But, oh no, we didn't. They ran until 2002. I don't think anyone was watching by 2002. Where the difference between that and Sutton Park that nobody was watching, but. Yeah, I'm surprised that it ran for a whole 10 years because I don't remember it still being on that late. But the network television premiere of James Bond: The Living Daylights was shown on ITV. So that was about 5 years after it had come out.
Who was Bond in that one?
Timothy Dalton.
Ah, okay.
One of his two. It was the first one of his two. Although, as I say, this is just when it was on TV, not when it actually came out. Although I think '92 was around the time that Pierce Brosnan started to appear.
I think GoldenEye came out in 92, yeah, because licensing.
A bit later than
that. No, it came out in '96, and didn't it come out at the same time?
GoldenEye's later because Sean Bean has to leave filming Sharp to go and attend the premiere in the US. So it would have been about 94, I think.
What else have we got? Oh, the first episode of Later with Jules Holland, which is still running to this day, I think. And I'm pretty sure I can't. Oh, BBC One's controversial one-off drama Ghost Watch is broadcast.
Yeah, because it's coming out on Blu-ray in October.
I was recently asked by an American podcaster how much influence it had at the time, but because I was living in digs and didn't have great TV reception, I think I videoed it went away for the weekend and came back, and it was so scrappy that I never actually watched it.
I didn't watch it at the time either.
I didn't. I think I might have started to watch it and got a bit freaked out and turned it off.
I feel like the press kind of had almost. No, if you didn't, within about a day of it being shown, or less than that, it was. The press had spoilt the fact that it didn't really have time to sort of sink in that before they revealed, it's just a prank.
It was listed in the Radio Times as a drama, though. It had a director and a producer and a cast list. Just nobody was paying attention.
Well, as I said to my American friend, the people that were involved in the show was not the people that would be doing a serious show like that. Michael Parkinson doing that, Sarah Green, Mike Smith. Well, they were husband and wife. But
no, that was great that Sarah Green got sucked down into the cellar and be seen again. It was great.
but they weren't.
There was a cheer in our household.
I think, as you say, you hadn't. As you say, it was listed as being a drama anyway. It's just the people hadn't looked. But I'm trying to find. I think. I want to do one more section.
What day was it on? Ghostwatch.
It was a weekday, wasn't it? It was.
Was it?
It was a weekday.
It was on
Halloween
night. Whatever Halloween night was that?
That year, because I was probably down the pub.
Well, hit me up with hit me to this, because was the controversy that they were trying to say that it was a true story, or is that what the controversy was?
Well, that's certainly how some areas of the press were. But as Lisa said, if you looked in the TV listings, it was listed as a drama, but a lot of people didn't realise, and it was kind of, it was, yeah.
The ilk of the War of the Worlds, wasn't it? If you missed the warning at the beginning, you weren't aware that it was a drama.
I see.
Yeah, and it's because of the situation that happened, or because of that, they thought that Sarah Green had been, killed, and you'd see this happen on screen. And then when people found out that it was all faked, I think they felt sort of...
But when did Paul Daniels do that supposed trick that went wrong?
I'm not sure. That might be before that.
Earlier than that, I think.
Yeah. So, but I mean, Inside Number 9 did something again recently, a few years ago, and people still fall for it because they had this thing about that it went wrong, and lots of people turned over and didn't actually see the whole episode.
The people I was working with, and I think my mum turned it off, and I was like, obviously, I was like, he's so thick.
It went on to spawn over in this country programs like Mostly Haunted, didn't it? About 10 years later, and they're sort of in that vein that are put across of, this is a genuine ghost hunt. But at the beginning, there's always a caption that says, "This program is for entertainment purposes only."
This program is utter bollocks.
Yes. And it spawned like a huge sort of thing over here, didn't it?
It was also the year of El Dorado, or the year that El Dorado started.
Wow. How many years of El Dorado did we get?
One.
Just the one?
Just the one.
Not even quite one, was it? I don't think it even lasted the full year, did it?
I think it almost did. I can't see this listed, but unless it wasn't on BBC One. It wasn't. No.
BBC Two.
No. I'm thinking the thing. I was surprised it wasn't mentioned that Absolutely Fabulous started, but it wasn't shown on BBC One at this point. It was still only on BBC Two. That started on the 12th of November. I particularly remember that starting when I was at university. That first term.
Now, Abfab was super popular over here.
Real life as well.
Yes, documentary.
Yeah.
The detective show Between the Lines started in September, as did a Polish Practice, which was a spin-off.
I directed the traffic once in an episode of Between the Lines.
I like Between the Lines. Are you actually in it? Is it serious?
No, that I was there. I met the actor who played Harry Naylor, who was the constant chain-smoking inspector, and I had to stop the traffic for them to film a sequence, and the tea wagon drove up, and we had a cup of tea, and we were drinking tea.
All that bent coppers, wasn't it?
It was.
Were you sweating in your helmet?
Well, I got excited because he was one of the blokes off Genesis of the Daleks, but I didn't mention this. But he was saying that he got the part, and the day before he got the part, he'd given up smoking. And then when he came for he says, "Oh, you won't mind smoking, will you? Because Harry Naylor's a chain smoker."
You want me to die?
In November, actually, the same day as Absolutely Fabulous started, BBC One aired the 1,500th episode of Top of the Pops, and it was also.
Is it one that we can show?
Probably not.
Just asking.
I think so.
Because there was a much loved broadcaster who'd been with it from the beginning, if you remember at that stage. Can't imagine they would have asked him along. It's like when they do them Blue Peter centenaries or whatever. They dig them all up.
Doesn't seem to say that they had anybody special presenting, just the usual presenter. So, what else have we got? ITV in December. ITV broadcast the 1,000th episode of Home and Away, which is a show that's still running to this day.
And you've got it all on DVD.
No, but it's my only Australian soap left to watch. But
saving it for your retirement. Yeah.
Well, I mean, some of Home and Away is on Prime, and I could go back to the beginning, but I don't watch that much TV per day. I only watch 2 or 3 hours a day or whatever, which still seems a lot, but I haven't really got time to go back and watch.
So I read somebody this week was saying that you can now watch Neighbours from the beginning on some YouTube channel. Is that correct?
I've heard that, and it's just I think I'd like to jump in and start around the late 90s rather than I don't really want to see the stuff I saw back then. I want to see the stuff I have never seen. But I'm more interested in the noughties episodes maybe. But
of course you are.
Now we're kind of running out of time. I was going to do a quiz, but I think we'll have to leave that. But what we usually have some clips from this actual show, so I usually do that. We'll do 2 clips, and yes, Lisa, give me a year between 1996 and 2022. No, yes, did I say 2016 and 20.
Hey, you weren't running in 2022.
No,
1996. Wow.
It's because we're talking about Sutton Park.
Between 2018.
Yeah. And Martin, choose a month in 2000.
November.
And Warren, choose a part of November.
The early part.
The early part. Well,
you like an early part, don't you?
The funny thing. The funny thing is, this is an episode that Toppy influenced. It's episode 200.
Almost like we planned it.
Episode 204, and it's called An Earworm Named Todd, released on the 4th of November 2018. Because you've done an episode about earworms, and when I listened to it, you've gone down a totally different route with the idea of earworms, and I thought, I have to do one that what I would do if I was going to do an earworm episode. So, yes, it was the subject of your episode 476 of the Spellcast. So,
oh yeah.
Back when I wasn't slowly catching up with you with the numbers. you were 250 episodes ahead of me back then, and now you're only about 20 ahead of me.
Yeah, it's a very small number now.
Yeah. So let's have a clip from that.
Comedy, is everything okay? Ig, what can you see?
It's okay, Paul. Just you lie still. It'll be fine.
Yes, it'll be fine. Now, I think we will see the emergence of the earworm at any time. Cuthbert has done all he needs to do, and I have brought some cheese to lure out the earworm from inside your ear. Oh, thank you. Oh, I can feel it. It's tickling. Oh, it's tickling. Oh dear. No. Oh.
Sit still, Paul. Don't riddle.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh dear. Here it comes. It's wiggling out. Oh, stop it. Oh no.
very pretty. It's got a little face.
Oh, yes. It's smiling. Hello. Hello, earworm. What is your name?
My name is Todd. I am an earworm.
Oh, my goodness, it speaks.
No, Paul, don't be rude.
I'm not being rude. Sorry, I'm just a bit shocked. Todd. Hello. It's me. I'm Paul. Paul the Shy Yeti. You were living in my ear.
Yes, I was. It was quite nice.
Oh, dear. He's very attractive for an earworm. Well, you know, only the best for my ears.
How did you get in there, little earworm? I just crawled in one night. It looked nice in there.
Thank you. It's funny how people have earworms and they never realise that they're actual worms. They just think that they've got a tune stuck in their head, when in fact it's you or one of your friends.
This is true. We do like living in here, though.
Oh dear. Yes. Well, I don't think that you can keep living in Paul's head, though, because, you know, he is very busy with his podcasting and he has lots of ideas, and the last thing he needs is somebody talking or whistling in his ear.
I understand, I suppose. Perhaps he could live in my ear.
Oh, I don't know about that, Ick. Do you know whether he could even survive inside your ear?
Well, I don't know. We could always find out.
Well, I have another idea. I think that between us, Ick, we could build little Todd, we could build him a robotic ear, somewhere that he could live. Huh?
That might be fun. I would like to have my own ear.
Exactly. I think that would, it would serve our purposes. Oh, golly, well, as long as Todd would be okay. Todd, I'm sure you would be fine. These guys can be trusted, that they're very good at their jobs.
Would you like to hear me sing a song? Maybe if you sing a song, I could sing it too. I could sing with you. Oh, yes. That would be fun.
Well, maybe you could sing the Shy Yeti song.
Shy Yeti. Shy Yeti.
Shy Yeti. Oh my goodness, you lot are crazy. I think I shall go and speak to Cuthbert about how to make this robotic ear so that Todd does not have to live in your ear. Okay then, Cromitty. Yes, Todd. Can we get you anything to eat? A piece of toast, a bit of cake?
Oh, a bit of cake would be nice. Oh, Paul, I would like a piece of cake too.
Well, I would like a piece of cake as well, so hey, let's all go and have a piece of cake. Did somebody say cake? I thought you were going to see Cuthbert, Cromitty. No, not until we've had cake. All right.
Okay. Troby, pick a year between 2016 and 2022.
2020.
And who haven't
the space year 2020.
Who haven't I asked? Toppy, a month, please.
June.
And we'll have Warren again for which part of the month?
Pick Martin.
Right, Martin, what part of the month would you like?
Let me think. June. 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 No, the middle of June. Definitely the middle of June. Yes. We like the middle of June.
Depends what she's wearing.
I think it's one of those. It's one of those months when I was releasing. We had.
You were releasing pigeons.
No, I was releasing them almost every day. So I'll tell you the episodes, but I think I'll talk about a particular one. There's episode 344 on the 11th of June. That was with Haunt Cub. There was something about belated scraps of Yeti gossip on the 17th of June. There was an episode about the music of 1976 on the 19th of June. But in the same way that Toppy was involved, episode 345 on the 15th of June, which is probably as central as you can get, Troby and I'm sure Lisa were involved, but it was Gordon the Crypt Keeper in Need, episode 345.
What was I in need of?
Is that like a West End show about bread making? An exclamation mark.
Well, he'd lost his job. Poor Gordon had lost his job, and we were having trouble finding him a job where whatever he touched wouldn't disintegrate. Yeah, let's have a clip from that.
Hello, listeners. We're at Bettina's house. Actually, we're here in her private gardens. As you know, she's not very often around in the UK, particularly when she and Damius were working overseas. But, well, as you know, things have been very complicated for her since Damius went missing at their wedding late last year. However, Bettina is currently back in Britain, although we on the Shall Life podcast, I've only seen her fleetingly. She's very busy with her charity work. Anyway, she is keen to get the garden back into shape as spring approaches, and that's where you come in, Gordon. Gordon, have you ever met Bettina?
Alas, no, but of course I've heard her and Damius on the little show on many occasions.
Well, of course. And you've probably seen Bettina in one or two films as well, but maybe not even realised it was her.
True. From the sounds of it, I could well have seen Damius too, and not have been aware it was him. Doesn't he specialise in playing tea kettles and hat stands?
He does indeed, and it wouldn't surprise me if you'd also seen him in something. Those definitely are two of the types of roles that he's best known for, although he has been known to take other parts. I believe he played a forest at least once, and I think I'm right in saying he also has won awards for playing the year 1964.
A very talented man. It's hard to do something like that and make it convincing.
He is, I agree, and yet he's so very modest about his talents. Daftly so. I do wish we knew what had happened to him. He's much missed.
It's quite a mystery from the sounds of it.
It is, but it's probably best we don't discuss him whilst Bettina is around. It's rather an unresolved matter right at the moment. It's still a very raw experience for her.
Of course, yes. Most upsetting.
He must be out there somewhere, it baffles me. Oh well. Moving swiftly on.
Mr. Yeti, sir, I just want to say one thing before I go plunging on into that lovely garden of Bettina's. I'm concerned, that's all, that I might cause some sort of a floral tragedy, if you get my meaning.
Yes, I do. After what almost happened down in the Sutton Park archives, right?
Yes, that's it. From what I can ascertain, my deathly aura very nearly eroded precious footage of the Sutton Park gang chasing evil haggis about on Pepperbox Hill back in about 1997 or some such.
Yes, it was a close thing, but we got to those tapes in good time. All we lost in the end was some footage of my brother playing football in the mid-90s, and with the bestest intentions, I'm not sure anybody is going to miss that. Sorry, Graham. You should have looked after your own tapes. It's a lesson learned. Just because you have a librarian in the family, I mean, people take such liberties.
Mr. Yeti, you can be so mean sometimes.
Well, you know, if it's not all about me, then I quickly lose interest. It's the curse of podcasting, I'm afraid.
I guess so. So what's to stop me making these flowers wither and die?
These, Gordon. These will.
A pair of gloves!
A very special pair of gardening gloves, yes. Fine for a spot of weeding and pruning, but alas, not something that you would really be able to use when handling old videotapes.
Never mind, as you say. Perfect for the job in hand. Shall I try them on?
Please do.
Nice. These are snug. I like them, Yeti. They're comfortable.
Good. The flowers should be safe.
I suppose I could have just used my talents, but on the weeds.
Well, maybe, but better safe than sorry. Come along, let me introduce you to Bettina. I still can't remember if you've met before. Maybe at the Christmas social one year.
Ah, well, I may have blanked it out. Nothing against Miss Dupre. Only Christmas can be quite problematic for me sometimes. Still, there's no need to go into that now.
Yes. Bettina, are you free for a moment?
Paul, hello dear. Oh, yes, do hurry over. I'm here by the begonias.
Yes, I see you. Come along, Gordon. Bettina, I can't remember if you two have met.
Darling, Gordon, isn't it? How wonderful. Oh, I do love your cloak. Very swishy. Just the thing for this wintry weather.
Oh, yes, your madamness. You're not wrong there.
Gordon, I explained to Bettina about some of your recent problems, and she's very keen to help you get back on your feet.
Oh, yes, dear, very keen. I can't believe they made you redundant like that. Very disrespectful.
Oh, well, you know how it is. You can't just depend on a job for life anymore, even if you are dealing with the dead.
Oh, well, yes. It would appear that everyone aims to be immortal these days. The internet has a lot to answer for.
You're not wrong. Anyway, thanks for this, Bettina. I think I know what you want Gordon to focus on today. I'll show him if you'd like.
Absolutely. We'll catch up later, darling. Thank you so much, Gordon.
Thanks, Bettina. Come this way, Gordon.
I must say, it's very nice to get the chance to work outside for a change.
Yes, I know what you mean. I'm mostly inside working in the library. Occasionally I get out for podcast recordings, but a lot of that is based inside too.
Well, I think I'm ready to begin. Show me the flowers that you'd like me to tend to.
Well, these roses are in desperate need for a bit of tidying up. Clear away those wilting leaves, a spot of deadheading, and, as you say, there are some weeds down in the bed.
Oh, good old golly. Isn't the smell lovely? Quite strong. Almost a little pungent.
Maybe you should wear a mask. You're not sensitive to pollen at all, are you? Oh, goodness. I guess that's my answer.
Oh, gosh. I think I may have killed all the roses by sneezing on them. I'm awfully sorry, Yeti.
Oh, Gordon. Well, look, never mind. We'll buy some fake flowers. Bettina need never know. I was thinking of, is there, going back to, I never answered my own question, I don't think there are any characters I didn't play in Sutton Park that, other than I think Troby is right. We could have done some, it probably would have needed a bit of editing as well, which there wasn't a lot of, in the way that you could do it with the podcast.
You could only do 2 edits an episode, is it something like that?
Well, I mean, we didn't really make mistakes, or if we did, we kept on going. But I think maybe doing. I think I probably did do a character swap. I certainly was. Like there was a baddie, and I don't know where I was, but there's certainly a baddie in my body. So I think I probably did do a body swap episode. I'm not sure there are any plot lines I didn't do.
There are tablets for that, you know.
It kind of petered out where I was moving to a different job, and I was determined to get this. It didn't necessarily. We didn't. It did sort of peter out rather than us saying, right, this is the last episode. And then there were a couple of times where we revived it just. Nick found a tape recently from 2001 where we were kind of doing what happened in the following year after the last episode. I was doing other projects, so it kind of got pushed aside. And I did do a mini series in 2010, and I probably would have done more of that, but then I started having problems with editing on Windows Movie Maker, which had been so good for quite a while.
Did you ever do retakes? I mean, did someone, if someone really wanted the take, if someone really swore like a troop, the old sort of farty wank bollocks or whatever, they did that.
Other words are available.
Did they actually, would you actually cut the tape like they used to on telly? I mean, they always used to say if you really messed up, the thing to do was to swear like a trooper, wasn't it? To make sure they wouldn't use the.
It always worked
tape
on live telly.
Well, precisely.
It didn't happen that often, although
right.
my friend Kerry did swear a lot in those days, and I remember
It's all been immortalised.
Well, I remember kind of up until the point he was in the series, there hadn't been swearing, and I could have shown pretty much any episode from my mum or dad. And then it got to the point where I thought, well, now Kerry's in it, I'm going to have to accept that the language is going to be
too hot for prime time.
Yeah, and also Lee swore quite a lot, so I just.
But you didn't cut that. You didn't cut those things out or bleep them or anything. You let it go out unexpurgated.
I think I did because it was only going to be watched by Troby and Lee and maybe.
See, that's the wonderful thing, isn't it? I mean, if any of these people do finally sort of turn up their tones, you'll be able to actually send a video of all their swearing for them to play at their memorial service.
I do edit out when I put audio clips on the podcast. I do keep some of it in, but I do edit retrospectively. Sort of. No, I think I'll just cut this bit because it hasn't aged very well, or it's too rude. But anyway,
when you say it hasn't aged very well, does that mean that there's the sort of like? Do you love thy neighbour? Do you Afghan it? Is there a bit of stuff that wouldn't go sit well in the modern world?
It's. There's probably more that offends me now. I don't know. Not racist stuff, more homophobic stuff. Not coming from me, but coming from one or two people only casually, and they didn't necessarily know I was going at the time. So I don't know. It's only, and I'm also thinking for the podcast, it doesn't necessarily need that bit in the episode. It's not essential. Because it was improvised. Sometimes the improvisation, there's a point where you kind of, you've done enough now.
I mean, it never goes the full Derek line, does it?
And the thing is, I was kind of, I'm sort of Mr. Goody. No, not Mr. Goody Two Shoes, but I'm much more innocent, and my language is not more innocent. Nat, Day.
You're all right. Yeah, I think Warren's still at
the wrong place.
I wasn't
some sort of seizure going on there.
I wasn't really somebody who swore that much. I was a lot more sort of, but then because you're working with people who some people do swear,
filthy mouth,
who have a filthy mouth. No, and other people I encountered at university might have done. I kind of just had to, I'll shrug my shoulders and go, okay, let's keep going. But anyway,
the mean people are being horrid.
Well, yeah, it. Well, this month on the Shot Life podcast, we I'm not sure what order this episode will be going out, but the other two episodes, there's an episode where Cromarty goes back to Sutton Park. So there's a kind of a new episode of Sutton Park, if you like, but on the Shot Life podcast. And then we've also got an interview with Kerry, who was my the first time that Kerry has been recorded talking about Sutton Park. Although looking at the timelines, I'm concerned that I might have done most of the talking. But I think I was just encouraging it because he's not seen it as recently as I have. But
is that your brother? Is that your brother, Paul?
No, Kerry is my friend from university who I lodged with and who kind of was involved in quite a lot of Sutton Park because he didn't get much choice in the matter. But yeah, I think he'll be coming back to the show as well to talk about because we share likes in sort of similar TV shows, and so yeah, it's kind of
Park Rehab, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's quite nice to get some people who've not talked about it for 30 years or something, or 25 years. But anyway, before we go, I just wanted to ask around how is podcasting life? How is the Smellcast topic?
Oh, alive and well, and churning out the series.
And we've got a few collaborations coming up, which I don't think will be out when this comes out, but there's definitely an episode where you and I swap houses. We don't swap brains, but we swap. You go and live with Kitty Uncle John, and I go and live with Aunt Tappy. That'll be coming out sometime.
House swap. Wow.
Yeah, and
house swap.
And I know by the time
be tidy for me while you're in there.
And I know by the time this episode comes out, we recorded and I've now released our little chat about season 4 of Matinee Misha.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time this episode comes out, you'll have started season 5. So, yeah, I know that episode will be. The listeners will already have heard that. But Martin, what about Vision on Sound?
Oh, Visual Sound. Yes, no. Well, tomorrow's episode, my guest has been namming by. Well, no, I don't know. He seemed very. Martin wanted to do it, so we did. I thought, yeah, that's it's not the biggest endorsement of a show I've ever had, but so that's tomorrow. That's episode 99 tomorrow. So we're nearly at our 100th show, which is quite nice, I suppose, in its own little way.
That's good. And Trivia Lisa. When can we expect another Around the Archives?
Ooh, we're getting closer, aren't we?
We're getting closer. Everybody's delivered apart from us.
As usual.
Again.
So we've got a lot of Bernard Cribbins.
Yeah, we've got a lot of Cribbins to watch.
Yeah, and we have got a lot of Bernard Cribbins, actually.
Yeah. We've watched one episode of his series. That was interesting. That's all I'm going to say. It's.
But we're going to watch. What are we going to watch? His appearance in Wurzel Gummidge.
We're going to watch him in Wurzel Gummidge.
And Space 1999.
Space 1999, and we're going to try and track down some Jack and Norris.
You got the Shillingbury
Tales
spin-off.
The only thing about Shillingbury Tales is because of the way my brain works, I have to watch it from the start. But the first episode, I think, is feature length.
All right.
So that's a bit annoying. Yeah. Yeah, and then it leads into the series. So we might just maybe not watch that for this one and do that at a later date.
Yeah. And we should also plug our recent appearance on
Yes, Looks Unfamiliar. Yeah.
Where we talked about John Inman and dinosaurs and Arthur C. Clarke and all sorts.
And middle-class children.
And cucumber sandwiches.
Which is the most pointless sandwich, apparently.
You're not waiting for my Around the Archives article?
No, not for this episode. No, we're the only ones holding it up as usual.
Yeah, it's usually us. It's always us.
Yeah.
And how's the cinematic sausage?
The sizzling cinematic sausage. Called the borrowing someone else's dentures. Yeah, that's coming along fine. I'm just editing at the moment. Hell hath no fury like a lorry driver's accelerator pedal.
I saw a bit of that tonight. Hell drivers. With a beard.
Yeah, don't you spoil that review because I got a special guest in for that.
No, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
have you ever seen Hell Drivers? Lisa?
Not all the way through. No.
I think I've seen it. Yeah,
it's good fun. It's good fun.
I'd say it's another one for the cult.
Yes.
Yes. I haven't seen.
But literally every name in it, every face in it is famous. Teetering on the edge of the beginning of their careers. We've got things like Sean Connery's in a background role, or Sidney James doing serious stuff.
Yeah. The bit I saw had Sean Connery in it.
Yeah, he looks so young, doesn't he?
He does. His eyebrows meet in the middle as well.
Wow, pre-Roger Moore. Yes, I've got a special guest. Martin Holmes, might have heard of him. He's on the radio. Yeah, him. Yeah, he turns up. It's like that Cummings bloke always turns up on your radio show.
Well, he's cheap.
So yeah, that's what we're looking at, and somebody else might be looking at Roaring Creatures.
Yeah. When somebody else watches the film again, and somebody else who's talking now has watched the film as well.
Oh, me?
It's yes, you.
I've got it. I've got it out on the ledge. It's covered in dust, but I got it out on the ledge there.
Are we still talking about the film?
I've got it on shiny Blu-ray with lots of extras.
Yeah. I think I got mine on Betamax. But that's going to be later in the year.
Aren't we incestuous?
We are.
We're all
keeping it in the family.
Speak for yourself, sister.
And if we had been broadcast at tea time on BBC One in 1992, we'd have been edited down from 4 episodes to 2 or something. Well, thank you, listeners, for listening to this episode. Thank you, guests, for guesting. And we'll probably do another episode before the end of the year. Maybe I refuse to acknowledge Christmas. I think Yeti Uncle John is proposing going to be proposing an alternate Christmas, well, a replacement. So
I thought he was going to say marriage then.
No, I think he has. I think this is probably an exclusive, but they're not here today to confirm it. But I think he is proposing Yudgeness, which is Yeti Uncle John-ness rather than Christmas. So it might be a festival that celebrates Yeti Uncle John. But yes, deals.
They'd be lucky to have him. They'd be lucky to have him. That's what I like it.
Aye, they will.
But we might do one in November, and yes, deals, we may. Yes, things will have changed by November. We'll have a we'll have a new or maybe an old Doctor Who by then. Yes, we will. Yes, the last Jodie Whittaker episode will have been screened by November. Yeah.
Going out in October.
And so yes, well, thank you everybody, and we'll see you again soon. And goodbye for now.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
For extra material.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Hang on, let me sit up. I've slipped down on the sofa.
Oh, are you in a dressing gown or are you au natural?
No, I have my trousers and what's this shirt on.
Good. You put your baby oil.
Lisa, stop pulling it.
Well,
Leave it alone.
it looks like you've done a hunter. I've buttoned it up wrong.
I'm sorry, he's doing a half hunter.
No. What we call it when somebody buttons up their shirt or their cardigan wrong.
Oh, I have, haven't I?
Yeah.
That ends longer than the other.
You know what you're going to get for your birthday? It's going to be Velcro cushion covers.
Everything's going to be shiny, covered in plastic.
You're going to need to put. You can put Velcro on him so he doesn't slide down the hooker's ass.
So Warren, tell us about the steam engines you saw.
Oh,
they were hot and steamy.
Warren, you went down to the steam fair, didn't you? And saw some men with their
I saw some men with their large engines out, yes, puffing away.
Has your steam fair been overtaken by steampunks at all, or is it still able to be a steam fair with just steam engines in it?
The traditional steam fair, my friend, and they play country music.
It's just that
the Wurzels playing all the time, everywhere you go.
It's just that some of the steampunk people seem to have decided that they're the only people who can get involved with steam, and therefore nobody else is interested. And I just wondered.
No, this is all steam engines and traction engines, old cars and horses ploughing.
Did you get stuck behind one in the queue of traffic?
No, I'm lucky they all arrived last week. There was a big piping organ being powered by some piston thing as I came in, and that was playing Vision On type music. And when I got up to the First World War bit, because they have some reenactment as well, so they had trenches and dugouts and that kind of thing up there as well.
Steam powered tanks
and a couple of First World War replica tanks and a little train that runs around that delivers the ammunition. They were playing on this barrel organ up there. They were playing Captain Ginger.
Right.
So,
as mentioned in our Looks Unfamiliar podcast.
Yeah, so I was grinning away at that. So yes,
it's a song that dates to 1911. Would you believe?
You silenced everybody.
Yeah, with my knowledge of Captain Ginger. Yeah.
11 minutes past 7.
And it's one of these dudes that started off in a field just down the road from where I live at the moment, and now it's like the size of a small town outside the other side of the town because it's just got too big for.
That sounds.
Do
they put planks down, or do all the steam engines sink into the mud?
No, it's very hard soil. It's they take the corn off, they reap the corn, and then they just drive over the stubble.
Right.
But when it has in the past rained, it's been very interesting getting the steam engines and everything. Well, the steam traction engines aren't too bad, but they're pulling out like the static things. One thing I will ask is, Mr. Trowbridge has been, and he has a very favourite piece of equipment, haven't you?
Oh yeah, it's this sort of static engine. It's got like sort of a seesaw arrangement, hasn't it? Like this thing goes up and down, and the idea is that you put a bucket of water by it, and it sucks up the water into its mechanism, and then you have an empty bucket like sort of 3 feet away, and it puts the water into the other bucket. And it takes about sort of 2 minutes to do that, doesn't it? It
I don't know why you're looking at me.
sucks the water and it goes doof, 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 doof,
I've never
doof,
been.
doof, doof, doof.
How the evenings must fly by.
Yeah. But I thought, why not just move the bucket? Why have this apparatus to move a bucket of water 2 foot to the left? What is the point of it? And people pay money to look at this thing. Can't you just have a man walking up and down with a bucket?
What does the steam engine do?
The steam engine would be out of work, wouldn't it?
It
We'd have to
Don't
queue
put
up.
steam engines out of work.
Toppy, do you have those sort of fairs in America, like country fairs, steam fairs?
Well, you know what? I don't think so. We certainly have a lot of old car shows, antique shows, antique cars, classic cars. And, you know, somewhere somebody's got to be showing steam engines, but not like you're describing. No.
I think it's a very uniquely Dorset thing, isn't it? Let's be honest.
But
West Country.
But where did Fred Dibner come from? He was
came
into his
from up
steam
north.
engines.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he did have steam engines.
Let's talk to our correspondent up north. Let's go nationwide. Martin, where did Fred Dibner come from?
I think it's Yorkshire. No, it could have been Lancashire. I can't remember now, but he was definitely from up here. And yeah, there was a lot. They still have steam fairs. Like I say, though, they do seem to now have been adopted by the people who like to sort of extol that lifestyle, if you see what I mean. The steampunk.
The trouble is, they come from all around the country, don't they? And in Dorset, for like the week beforehand, there's just traffic jams everywhere if you get stuck behind one.
And for the next week, I know I'm not going to be able to get out of the town anywhere because all I'll hear is dum, 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 as the steamrollers going up the road.
I think actually, when you think about you were saying about the bucket moving, I think that's basically it's the Tory party leadership contest. Same shit, different bucket, you know.
No, there's movement with the water.
Yeah, and then they got to crap in it and then pour it in the ocean, haven't they?
That's true.
Oh, sorry, bit of politics. Sorry.
That's okay.
My name's Martin Holmes. Thank you very much.
Get my glittery suit on.
And thank you. By the way, thank you to Matthew Untor for his contribution to this episode.
Oh yes.
I gotta go now. Bye. Gotta go. Bye.
Goodbye, 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 goodbye.
It's been good, but yeah, definitely time to come home now.
This show is part of the Pride 48 network. Find more shows over at pride48.com.
Oh dear, what's going on now? Oh, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Let's go.
I have a voice. I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice. We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UnivazPods.net.
Is this the extra material?
Recording.
I started recording.
I'm recording.
Is everyone
He's been recording since 1922.
20 past 7?
No. Those reels have been running. Those wax cylinders have been burning up.
Come in, Watson.
Just waiting to see whether.
I need a good seeing too.
Oh!
Right?
That descended quickly, didn't it?
Sorry, I thought I was playing Fortnite. It gets filthy.
He's so rude.
So you can only get filthy once a fortnight. Okay, that's interesting.
You can't be filthy. You've had a bath tonight.
Oh yes, I'm all clean.
Oh gosh, you're not
glowing, aren't I?
You're not reporting direct from the water.
That's what the smell of domestos is.
Mr. Sheen cleans umpteen things clean.
Every crevice.
Believe it or not, apparently some people bathe in Dettol.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, my mother used to use put a cap full of Dettol in a bath. Yes.
Wow.
God knows why, but there we are.
Because somebody once dropped a bottle and you could just smell it out the entire shop.
Oh.
Yeah, it's those lovely 1950s they want to bring back. If you wanted a hot bath, you just put acid in it.
Rees Mogg was there lapping it up with his tongue.
It's the taste of Dettol.
I think I found him.
Right, okay, we've had the first Rees Mogg of the episode. Well done. Are we only allowed one? I'm not sure.
It depends if the gramophone's working.
It depends if the government are monitoring your calls.
Don't worry, the Wolsey's outside. We'll got a getaway car, Dick. Dick Barton for the rescue.
Holy crow, that was a long episode.
Oh my God, what was that? Was that 2 hours? It was at least 4 hours. How long was this podcast? I don't know. It was at least 5 hours. I don't know. It's like it puts out 20,000 episodes a month.
Oh, I think that was a wonderful episode, don't you, Toppy? I sure do. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
576. 576.
Ew. What's that smell?
Okay, let's just shove this one out. Get her going.
576. That's one more than 755. Anyway. Where was I? I gotta go. I lost count.